Okay, sixth grade. Today we'll be talking about absolute value. Please pause the video and write down all of these notes from the board. When you get to your examples, please leave just a little bit of space, okay? So that way we can fill it in as we go. When you're ready to continue, press play to move on. All right, absolute value. Positive numbers are graphed to the right of 0 or above. This is your number line, okay? And here is 0 right in the middle. To the right, you have your positive numbers. They are graphed to the right of 0 or above. If we had a vertical number line, then it would be, the positive numbers would be above 0, okay? Negative numbers are graphed to the left or below 0. So here is our horizontal number line. You see 0 right here, and the negative numbers will be to the left of 0. If it was a vertical number line going straight up and down, it will be graphed below 0. And then you have your opposites. Opposites are the numbers that are the same distance from 0 in opposite directions. For example, here is a horizontal number line. Here's your 0, 1, which is positive, is to the right of the number line, to the right of 0. And you have -1, which is to the left of 0. The opposite of 1 will be -1. Why? Because 1 is 1 unit to 0. -1 is 1 unit to 0. Okay? So basically, in simple terms, every number has an opposite. The opposite of 1 is -1. The opposite of -1 will be 1. The opposite of 2 is -2. The opposite of -2 is 2. So every number on the number line has an opposite. Okay, so the opposite of 100 will be -100. The opposite of -200 will be, you guessed it, 200. Okay? Let's move on to example number 1. Example number 1, what is the opposite of -5? Remember, according to the definition of opposites, -5 is 5 spaces from 0. So therefore, what number on the positive side will be 5 spaces from 0? +5. Okay? Example number 2, what is the opposite of 4? Yes, -4. Why? Because 4 is 4 spaces away from 0, and on the left side, -4 is 4 spaces away from 0. So go ahead and pause the video, copy down any notes that you need to, and press play when you are ready to move on. Okay, now let's move on to absolute value. Please pause the video to copy down all notes, including that word problem in example number 3, and leave space in between your examples so that we can fill it in, okay? Press play when you are ready to move on. All right, so we've talked about positive numbers and negative numbers according to the number line. We've talked about opposites, so now moves us along to absolute value. Absolute value are numbers that are the same distance from 0 on a number line, okay? So, example number 1. When you see these brackets, that means absolute value, okay? So here, they want us to figure out what is the absolute value of -4. Remember, absolute value is basically the distance from 0. What is the distance from 0? Okay? So -4. Well, we're on a number line, okay? And we look at -4. How many units is it from 0? And remember, in nature, we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do not count -1, -2. No, that is not how we count. We count in natural numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? So how many spaces away is -4 from 0? 4 units. So the absolute value of -4 will be 4. Just remember that absolute value, when they say what is the absolute value of a number, this number is always going to be positive, okay? It's always going to be positive. So when they ask you what is the absolute value of -4, it is 4, because it is 4 units away from 0, okay? Example number 2. What is the absolute value of -5 minus the absolute value of 2? Okay, the first thing that we need to do is take -5 and 2 out of absolute value, okay? That is the first thing that we need to do before we solve. So the absolute value of -5 will be 5. Why? Because it is 5 spaces away from 0. We don't forget our minus sign, because that is the operation that they told us to use. And then this absolute value of 2. The absolute value of 2 is 2, because remember, it's going to be positive and it is 2 spaces away from 0. So now we have 5 minus 2, which will give us 3. So the absolute value of -5 minus the absolute value of 2 will give us 3. So now let's move on to example number 3. Tiara climbs 30 feet up a rock wall and then climbs 22 feet down to a loading area. How many feet does Tiara climb? So again, we're using absolute value to answer this question. So that we're going to take 30 feet, the absolute value of 30, plus, because they're asking us how many feet does Tiara climb, they're asking us to add it together, okay? So the absolute value of 30, and then she climbs 22 feet down. So she went down, so therefore it'll be represented as a negative. So the absolute value of -22. So we've set up our problem, the absolute value of 30 plus the absolute value of -22. Now, the reason why this 30 is positive and this 22 is negative, because Tiara climbed 30 feet up. So remember now, if we were looking at a number line, a vertical number line, here is our 0. Our positive numbers are above 0. Our negative numbers are below 0. So therefore, Tiara climbed 30 feet up. So therefore, that is why it is represented as a positive number. She climbed 22 feet down. That's why this 22 is represented as -22. So now we have to take it out of absolute value. So the absolute value of 30 is 30. And remember to bring down our operation, because we are adding. The absolute value of -22 is 22. So now we have 30 plus 22, because they're just asking how many feet did she climb in total. She had to climb 30 feet up and then 22 feet down. So therefore, 30 plus 22 will be 52. So therefore, how many feet does Tiara climb? She climbed 52 feet in total, okay? So go ahead and pause the video, take down all notes that you need to work out the problem. And if you have any questions, please comment in the comment area down below, or you can hit me up on Edmodo, okay?